What is going on, Back Desert Crew? So today we're going to be going over the actual differences between the 2019 Turbo R and the 2020 Turbo RR. Are all the rumors true? Let's see. Videos circulating about all the changes that were made to the 2020, some true, some false. Well, today I finally want to put all those rumors to rest and tell you what I found out doing my own research. I did the legwork for you so you don't have to. I'm not saying I know everything, but I did cross-check part numbers to see what actually changed model to model. So the first thing that comes to mind with the Turbo RR is the 195 horsepower. If you are a performance enthusiast, this vehicle is a must-have for you, as it has everything that the aftermarket world was doing in an OEM vehicle. They gave you a larger turbocharger, lowered the compression of the pistons, gave you a larger intercooler, and a better intake. For me, this is a great starting point for any performance enthusiast. So the first obvious difference is the gauge cluster itself. They went away from analog gauges to a nice digital display that definitely offers more information than it did on the previous models. My favorite part is the keypad to the right. Now, your Eco and Sport mode are controlled by drive mode. You have your trip, your menu for all your options to display on your gauge cluster, and dynamic power steering is now controlled over here. It has the same 4 switches offered in the previous models. You have headlights over here, your override, front lock, 4x, 2-wheel drive mode, trail active, and trail mode here. For outside differences, the biggest changes are obviously the wheels, but now this front fascia part is painted black to match the rest of the vehicle. On other models, it was raw. And obviously the Turbo RR sticker. As far as the rest of the outside, is virtually unchanged. As far as the roll cage goes, it is now a bolt-on roll cage. This was not to help the consumer, but it was to help Can-Am, as every time they crashed one of these, they had to replace the whole frame. But now they can just replace the roll cage when these things roll. Let's talk about ground clearance. They have a claimed 16 inches of ground clearance now on these newer 2020 models. I have confirmed that. I measured front and back. It is 16 inches. Now, for suspension, I also confirmed this via part number. These are different part numbers than previous models, and the only thing that changed on them is a different spring rate. So let's talk about the frame a little bit. I've heard so many rumors stating that the 2020 frame was much stronger than the previous models, had thicker diameter tubing, and more gusseting. Well, I was able to confirm this. That is all true. It is thicker diameter tubing, does have more gusseting, and it is a different part number than in the 2019, which also had more gusseting. And it's not just because it has a bolt-on cage, but because it is an actual different roll cage. And it seems that the finish that they use on the roll cage is much tougher than the previous years as well. The 2020 models also come with this pull plate. Although I will be swapping it out for a ZRP, it is nice to have on a stock vehicle, especially when you're mounting it down for the first time. So let's get to the good stuff. First thing I noticed was this thermal blanket that they've put on this hatch cover to keep temperatures in check. But the real business end of this vehicle now is the new turbocharger. It has a 1mm bigger inducer with a 3mm larger exducer. The turbo manifold has been changed from a cast iron manifold into a stainless steel manifold. The turbine wheel has not been changed, but the aspect ratio of the turbine housing has been changed to accommodate the larger exhaust flow. The wastegate has been upgraded as well. Instead of boosting the 1 bar that the previous model was boosting was about 14 psi, this is now producing 21 psi. The airbox has been upgraded significantly as well. Whereas the previous model had a really restrictive air inlet box, this one now has a larger intake diameter to accommodate the additional flow that this turbo is requiring to build that boost. Since we were talking about boost, let's take a look at the intercooler. The intercooler increased about 30% in surface area. It went from a 10x10 core to a 10x12. Also increased in depth to help lower those intake air temperatures to help with that additional boost pressure that it's seeing. So let's talk about the engine upgrades. They've lowered the compression of the pistons to help accommodate for a higher boost pressure that's being thrown at it and to help lower those intake air temperatures. They've also upgraded the map sensors to 3 bar to be able to read that higher boost pressure. Additionally, the injectors have been upgraded as well. They are slightly larger, but the style has changed. They now have a rounded style clip, whereas the older ones had a square clip. If you are upgrading injectors, you will need an adapter harness. Now let's talk about the transmission and the clutching. Now I was able to confirm the part number for the transmission is the same as previous years. So the gearing has not changed. But what has changed is the clutching. Firstly is the clutch cover. It now has a sound dampening material inside of it to help lower the clutch noises. As far as the clutches go, the primary has different clutch weights in it. They are a much lighter weight to help increase engine RPM and clutch engagement, along with the helix angle profile inside of the secondary. Other things I found out during my research, the part number for the front drive shaft is different than previous models. I don't know what this means. I don't know if it's an upgrade. I'm sure it is, but it is different. So my overall impression of the 2020 Can-Am Maverick X3 XRS Turbo RR Max LMNOP is that it's a great starting point for any performance enthusiast that has to have the latest and greatest. I can't wait to start modifying mine and get back to the desert as soon as possible. That's gonna be it for this one. Thanks for joining us, guys. Sorry this was a little boring, but I definitely want to get all the technical specifications out of this vehicle, as it was really hard to find it all in one source. I had to look at multiple sources to get all this info and compile it and give you guys the most info I could in one shot. That's gonna be it for this one. We'll see you on the next one. Take care, guys. Keep your shiny side up. Okay. What are we looking at? Dude.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.